Okay, let's just see. Okay, it says live. All right, we are live. Hey everyone, welcome here. Thank you very much for joining us tonight, today morning, afternoon. It's a different time zones, right? And I really hope you all are safe and healthy wherever you are. So just stay like that. Today is our 15th virtual Muley event. And again, we have Sandeep Deshmukh with us to walk us over Anypoint Business Group and access management. So we will switch to that as soon as possible without wasting much time. For those who are joining us for the first time today, there should be a YouTube chat on the right side of the video. So feel free to drop your questions or any thoughts in there. At the end of the presentation, we will go over all those questions and try to answer as much as we can. With that, without any delay, Sandeep, I will give it to you and you can take over. Sandeep.
Thanks, Manik. Hey, everyone. Welcome back to another MuleSoft meetup, online meetup event. My name is Sandeep Deshmukh, and I'm working as a customer success engineer at MuleSoft. Today is exactly 1 year since I started working for MuleSoft, so it's my anniversary today, work anniversary. And
Okay.
I've been working on the platform for the last couple of years, so I'm pretty much familiar with most of the features that Anypoint platform provides. And I was working on the customer side before was working with MuleSoft. So today we are going to talk about access management features and what are the best practices while thinking about creating business groups. So feel free to ask questions, and we'll try to address every question after the session. So we're gonna start with an introduction about access management. Just get to understand what access management provides out of the box in any point platform. Then what are business groups and how to think about creating business groups whenever you have multiple teams or line of businesses using the platform. And how you can think about sharing assets when you have a business group. At the end, we'll also talk about how roles uh, uh, play a role when you're working with different assets, and how the developers operations team can use the platform. So this is our Anypoint platform, right? On the These are all the different components that constitute as a Anypoint platform. And on the right hand side, if you see, we have Anypoint Management Center. Basically, this consists of the API manager, runtime manager, analytics, and access management. So we're going to focus on access management today, because that's where you would decide which users can log into the Anypoint platform, which external IDPs you can configure, and different features that we provide on the platform. Now, getting started, right? What does access management provide? So first, very basic things you can see in access management is who are the users on your Anypoint platform. What are the subscriptions? If you have Anypoint, if you have vCores that are assigned to your platform account, then you can see those statistics there. You can see if you have Anypoint MQ, you can see how much messages are being used per month in the access management page. And then you can also see different runtime management and runtime manager stats. Again, some of the features of the access management include that you can manage your organization. So organization means your master org, where whenever you create your Anypoint platform account at the first time. Next is the users that can use your platform. You can have granular level of permissions and role assigned to those users as well. And again, next thing is environment. So environments refer to having like a dev environment, a production environment. So we can have capabilities to create different environments and have like granular permissions for the users to access different environments. And again, lastly, we can connect your existing IDPs. Suppose you have a common IDP that you're using for all the other applications in your company. You can connect that IDP to log into your Anypoint platform. Now, looking at the access management feature, right? This basically are the main components. You can create roles, environments, audit logs. Audit logs is something where if you're making changes to any users, adding a user, making changing permissions to any role, all those metrics are captured in audit logs. So some companies have compliance related requirements where they need to track all these changes that are happening in the platform. So audit logs comes in handy where they can, that's like one stop shop for them to go and check the audit logs. So access management, right? Whenever you log into your Anypoint account, if you have access to the access management, most of the time the developers will not have access to this feature, but when if you have access, then you'll see the access management on the home screen. And this is where you can click and go to find different features of the platform. So first thing you can do in access management is manage your organization. So organization means that you have a master org, and within that you can have different business groups and subgroups. So business groups is basically a way to allocate certain resources to that particular LOB or application development team, and create like a chargeback model to within your company. So if you're having like 10 cloud up cores, you can assign like 5 cores to one business group and 5 cores to the next business group. This way you can track how much resource consumption is done for that particular business group, and see overall usage that's happening within a small development team. Next is the users. So users will be created once you invite a user to a business group or a master organization. Again, the permissions and roles will be decided once the user is created in the platform. Next is the when you what happens exactly what happens when first time you log into a Anypoint platform account. So usually when you sign up, you're asked what is the company name in the company field. So that is usually the name that you will see on the top right side of the corner of your screen when you log in for the first time. So if I sign up saying that MuleSoft is the org name, then the master org name will be MuleSoft. And it again, if you have multiple business groups created in that organization, then on the right hand side, if you click, you'll see a list of all the business group that you have uh, access to, or if you're org admin, you'll see all the business groups that are part of your Anypoint account. Next is the organization owners. So the first time, so who is the org admin, right? The person who signs up on the platform for the first time is usually assigned the org admin role. He's kind of like he has like a root access to do changes in your platform account. And it is, you can have more than one org admin who can do similar task for your Anypoint account. And next is each organization, right? Organization or a business group, it's going to be identified by a unique client ID and client secret. So we also have REST APIs which can help you get that information. So whatever operations you can do as a part of your Anypoint platform in the UI, everything can be done through the REST API. So we have made sure that there is a REST API of every action that you do on the UI. There is a REST API available in the backend. So coming on to the business group. So this is one of the most commonly asked questions from our customers if we need a business group. So business group is basically allows you to create like segregate the assets. If you want certain assets that don't need to be shared with another LOB or a development team, you would usually create a business group that will create a segregation of resources and assets in a particular business group. Then again, the hard limit for having business groups in an org is 100 business groups. So you have to make sure that you don't create business group for every project. Usually we recommend if you want to track the usage and the resources that have been developed by each LOB, we recommend creating business groups per LOB, or like per, if there is like division within your org, like integration team, software development team, then we recommend segregating by those. But don't create business group for per project. That what will happen is you'll have too many business groups at the end, and it will be hard to manage everything. And again, we also have a limit of 100 business group. If you reach that limit, there is no way to increase that limit programmatically. And again, it provides the isolation of resources. So if you are creating certain assets in one business group, they will not be visible in another business group. So unless a user from other business group has read access to the first business group, they cannot see any resources. So it will be like a black box whenever user logs in. And again, it promotes some multi-tenant use cases when you have business groups. So again, each business group, they will not inherit the permissions from the any master org. So if you have access to a business group, you will have to create own set of permissions and roles within that business group. Right now, this functionality is tied to a business group. In the future, we are introducing new concepts called as teams, which will take away the access management from business group and put it at the master org level. And business group has each business group will have different environments depending on your needs. You can create up to 200 environments currently, and you can have an environment for dev, QA, production. But usually we don't see more than 4 or 5 environments per business group. And again, it's very important if you want to migrate the resources from one business group to another, there is no automated way right now. You will have to manually move the assets from one business group to another. So do careful planning when you're thinking about creating your business group. So this is the common structure, right? So this is the hierarchy. Here you can see is this is the Anypoint master organization, and within that we have different business groups. So within a business group, there is also a way to create another sub business group. So we have seen some business groups, but even this business groups are counted towards the 100 limit, even the sub business group. So you have to make sure that you don't create too complex structures, which will be hard to manage. And I'll give you some more examples while we go ahead. But the resources that the sub business group can use are decided on what is available in the parent business group. It cannot use the resources from the master org. So when you click your master organization, you will see that this is all the fields that you will see. Usually you'll see that there is a client ID, client secret, which will be used to gain access to different list of business groups and all that. So these are required mostly when you're using your REST APIs, the client ID, client secret. And when you create business groups, we have some metadata that you can use for your business group. Suppose you are using cloud up deployment model. In that, you can decide how many production cores that you can allocate to that business group. Suppose your master org has 10 production cores. You can decide that you only need 5 cores for the sub business group. And once you decide the core allocation, you can also decide how many VPCs you need to allocate to that business group. How many load balancers, if you have the subscription for dedicated load balancer, you can decide how many load balancers to allocate to that business group. And also static IPs if you have any. Now, if you want to create a sub business group, then when you create a sub business group, it will only show the resources that are available for the parent business group. So if you have allocated 5 cores to the business group 1, you cannot allocate more than 5 cores to the sub business group because it is dependent on the parent. So as I told you, right, each business group can be allocated all these parameters depending on the requirements. The company can decide that this development team only needs 5 vehicles, and they can create chargeback models and federate all the resources across different business groups. And just to have more fine granular permissions and control, sometimes orgs create sub business groups to create to like maintain assets that should be hidden from the outside business groups. So each business group, if you think, it will have different users and roles. So a role in one business group is not automatically copied to another business group. So you have to create another role whenever you are managing permissions for a different business group. Next is each business group will contain assets. So every business group will have its own private exchange, private runtime manager, and all the design center as well. So the assets will not be shared across different business groups. And again, as I mentioned, environments is something that you can create within a business group, and the same structure is not copied. You will need to create dev, prod again in a second business group. So this is a typical structure, right? If you see here, this is a structure which is followed within master org. So this does not have any business group. John Hopkins is the master org. And within that, we have two VPC. If you have a cloud up deployment model, then they have created two VPCs at the master org. One is production VPC and non-production VPC. And within the master org, they have created environments. So this is when you don't have any business group. So let's look at a structure where you will see that how business groups affect. So this is a structure where we have three different business groups. So we have LOB business group 1, 2, and 3. And as you can see, each business group has its own set of resources and environment. And the Mule applications in one business groups are not visible to another. So you create like a logical boundary, but that's within your internal organization. One thing to remember is even if you create business groups within your org, it doesn't really affect the way the customers are interacting with your APIs. All this is like a black box to your customers or your clients which are calling the APIs. This is within the Anypoint platform, within the company, that you will see that the segregation is seen. It doesn't affect the way the clients are communicating with your APIs. So as I mentioned, each business group, including the master, will have its own design center, runtime manager. So one runtime manager cannot see the resources of another business group. It will again will have users and roles. So roles will need to be defined per business group. Then it will have a private exchange. So if you have some assets that you don't want to sell, for example, finance LOB, right? They don't want their assets to be shared across different LOBs. So they will have like a separate private exchange where they will have their own assets, their own APIs, and it will give them the segregation and isolation that they need. And if you have cloud up deployment model, there is a way you can control the number of cores allocated to each business group. So the allocation of the course can be as fine as zero point 0.1 vCore. That's the minimum possible allocation you can do for any cloud up runtime. So that's how fine you can allocate resources to a business group. And also VPCs and DLBs, like I mentioned in the previous window, you can see the metadata and the attributes you can allocate to business group. It can be DLBs or VPCs or static IPs. So think of this as a master org, and users are registered in the master org, and the users have been assigned roles. And organization attributes are the number of vCores, DLBs, static IPs. So in this, you will see that within the master org, we have three environments. In one, we have production environment, which is in one VPC, and in another, we have two non-production environments. So this is a way, right? If you have users and you want to assign different permissions, the way you can do it is you can go to access management, look at the users that are registered on your platform, and then you can click on the users, check what permission he has, or assign a role to a certain user. So that's the way usually you would manage permissions for a user. So this is another model where there is a business group. In this case, we have a business group created, but as you can see, the roles and users are separate than the master org. So you'll need to invite a user in the business group, and create a role for that particular user. And again, the business group attributes are the same things that we saw, the static IPs, the core allocation, and all that. And again, the environments are still segregated. The production is deployed in the master VPC and non-production in the non-prod VPC. This is a deployment model with two different business groups. Again, we have separate roles and users for each business group in this. So similarly, you can have similar structure with multiple business groups. And right now, it's kind of tricky to create users and assign permissions to every business group. In the future, we are introducing a feature called Teams. So all the access management will be residing outside the business group. It will be done within the master org level, and all the permissions will be assigned to a team, and then a business group will decide which team has access to its resources. Another feature that we have is your external identity management. So right now we support, so if you have a internal organization IDP that you want to connect to your Anypoint platform, we have the capability to do that. We support right now OpenID and SAML. So within OpenID, for example, we support OpenAM, Okta, then Ping Federated, and different IDPs right now that support both the protocols. Next is the client management. So last week on Friday, we released a new feature where now we have the capability to add more than one IDP for client management. So if you have an API manager subscription and you have the capability to have like a OAuth policy. So earlier what used to happen is you only had one-to-one mapping. So if you ever wanted to create a OAuth policy, you can only have one IDP that you have configured. But we realized that some customers had a need where they wanted to have a non-production IDP and a production IDP as a part of OAuth registration. So we recently released this feature which allows you to have more than one IDP. And at the time of creation of your API, managing your API in the API manager, you can decide which client IDP provider to select. So I just have a couple of screen grabs I would like to show you. So if you see on the left hand side, if you have access to the access management, you can see that you have a new option called client providers. And in client providers, you have a way to add the client provider. Once you add the client providers, you'll see that you'll have like a non-prod IDP, a production IDP, depending on what the requirements are within your org. And another way you can assign the IDPs is you have a way to do it in your environments. So if you click on an environment, you can see that there is a drop down now. So in your drop down, you'll see that you can add a external IDP or a production IDP as default for environment. So if you have a QA environment, you would just select a non-prod IDP by default. So you don't have to keep selection every time. And lastly, the audit logging. As I mentioned, some companies have the requirement where they need to track all the changes that are happening. If you have a client who is requesting access to your API and you want to see who approved the request for that API, all those things are tracked in audit logs. So you can export these logs and keep them as a record for your compliance related things, and all the actions, if you add a user, change permissions, everything is recorded in audit logging. So I'll just show you in the platform how the business group looks if somebody has not yet seen it. So this is my account. When I log in, you'll usually see, if you have permissions, you'll see access management on the left side pane. And in access management, you'll see that I have different business groups. And this is my master org. So I can see my client ID, client secret here. And this is a business group that I have created. And within that business group, as you can see, we have the capabilities to assign the number of cores that you want to create for this business group. You cannot delete a business group. Suppose you have a business group and you have some APIs deployed in that. And there is a requirement when you need to delete the business group and recreate one. You have to remove all the APIs that are deployed in that business group and then delete the business group. Otherwise, it will give you an error usually. So as you can see, there's different business group. We have created business group depending on the development teams. We have one business group for application development, one for software development, one for integration. So this is like the best practice when you're thinking about creating business groups. Just be careful. Uh, don't create too many business groups. It becomes unmanageable. It so there is also a reason, right? When you're creating assets, you want to make sure that they're reusable and discoverable. And if you're creating different business group, it is creating isolation, and the other people who are trying to develop new APIs cannot discover the reusable assets in other business group. So it's very important that you have a clear cut strategy and identify what is the right way to create business group. And there will be a requirement that you need to share some assets with other users. In some cases, I've seen that the customers have created a new business group, a third business group, where they have put all the common assets where anybody can go in and search and have read-only permissions to different assets that are available on the platform. So again, here you can see the number of all the users that are part of your org. And if you have external users, you can see it here. If you have any pending invites, if you have sent a user invite, you can see all the invites that have been sent. In roles, we have few default roles that we provide out of the box. We also have a way to create a custom role. By creating a role, you can start adding permissions, and it can be like a custom role which you assign to a user. So suppose there is a developer, you can decide what environment the developer has permissions to and all that. And environments. Right now we have 4 environments, but again, if you want to add another environment, depending on what kind of environment it is, sandbox, design, and production, you can name it and create an environment. So identity provider, like I mentioned, we have a capability to add OpenID or SAML right now. I don't have it registered, but we support most of the IDPs that are standard in most of the companies. And adding client provider, right? This is the new feature that has been recently launched. This is where you can have multiple IDPs now, one for production, one for non-production, and decide which is the OAuth IDP that you want to use when you are managing your policies. So you'll see this if you have an API manager subscription. Audit logs, like I mentioned, you'll see all the audit logs, whatever changes you have been doing, whatever new assets that have been created or permissions that have been changed, or everything is logged in the audit logs. And there is a way you can download these logs. Connected apps is another feature. Suppose you have a CI/CD pipeline and you wanna create. So some most of the times I've seen customers having like a service account, but you can just register the CI/CD pipeline in this and don't have to worry about the permissions. And suppose you want to use the Anypoint platform login for any of the apps that you have created, you can also register that app in here and then have the login done through Anypoint login option. And external access, again, if you have, so some customers have 2 organizations. So we have some customers who have US Anypoint platform accounts, and some customers have the EU platform account. And there comes a time where they want to collaborate and share assets that they have developed with each other. So all you need to do is like add organization on both the sides, enter the domain name, and the other org also accepts the domain name, and then the connection happens and they can view each other's assets. So this is like the general overview. Now I'm going to open up for questions and talk about different features here. Hey Manika, do you wanna read the questions or should I open up the YouTube?
No, I can read the question. That's okay. Okay, let's see. Just wait for the question. I'll start from the top. Am I audible? I hope.
Really, your voice is really low. Maybe you can speak a little louder.
Okay. Let's see. Can, oh, I forgot to change, switch my earphones. Is it better now?
Yeah, this is
Okay.
better.
Uh, okay. So the first question: can we move resources between the orgs?
Between the
If
orgs,
between user groups as the org admin.
no, yeah. So that's the thing. There is no way to do it in an automated way. You will have to do it manually. And right now, it's like a limitation that you have. If you have business groups, the only way to do it is manually, even if you are an org admin.
Okay. Is there a limit on how many users can be added?
Uh,
Administrator.
no, I don't think there is any limits. Not that I know of, but
Okay.
usually we are able to accommodate everyone.
Okay. Would creating different business group mean having different clusters for every business group when we have MuleSoft on premise?
Yes. So the way it will work is every server will be registered in a environment, and a server cannot, like a cluster or a server cannot be shared between environments or business groups. So each environment will have its own cluster, and it will be like a isolation from other business group.
Okay. And I think anyways, one server you can only register against one
One
environment.
environment,
You
right?
cannot have it with the multiple one.
Yep.
Okay, that's good. Can you give an example of when we want to move assets between business groups? Oh, even yeah. Do you
So
have?
I've seen most of the times where there is some reorg that happened in some customers within internal org, and they want to use some of the assets that have been developed by other LOB in another business group, and they want to import them. That's where I've seen like movement of resources happening most of the times. And,
Okay,
and
it's like
sometimes they just want to delete the business group because it was created for just one project, and they understand that it was not supposed to be created.
okay. Uh, it's like a migration between the departments and like that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
okay. Using external mapping to custom roles. When a user move across organizations, will deleting the user from AD, I think administrator, remove his access to platform, or do we need to mark user inactive in the platform? It's most likely, I think the question is how do we offboard a user without worrying about what access now he will retain?
I think it will be deleted, right? Manik, correct me if
Yeah,
I'm wrong,
yeah,
but
yeah.
yeah,
It's I mean, two ways to do it. If you still want to retain the user, just remove his permissions. If not, just delete it from the access management, and it will get deactivated.
yep.
Is there a way to retrieve V codes consumed by each sub organization? Currently, we are using API CS endpoint, but these are experimental APIs.
Yeah, there is a way. There is REST APIs which
Oh,
can tell you how many vCores are allocated for each production sandbox and design. So we have platform REST APIs which are available on Exchange. Uh, you
I,
can just explore and find the right API.
I think I forgot. I responded to that on the chat.
Okay.
There's a slash cloud hub slash API slash organization, the REST
Yeah.
endpoint, which you can call. And based on what is the current active organization, you can see in the profile it shows you how much you have, how much are consumed, so you can calculate the capacity of that, and
Yeah.
it's available on the API portal. You're right.
Right.
uh, yes. So is there a tool or easy way to migrate existing projects from one business group to another? Currently it has to be created as a new project starting from design center.
Yeah, there is again, like I mentioned, there is no automated way. It's all manual right now.
Yeah. Do we have any limit for adding users? I think you already said probably not that
Yeah.
you are aware of, right?
No.
Okay. Does it mean that one business group VPC cannot be accessible for another business group?
So if it's a child business group, that VPC is accessible within child business group. If you're creating a business group at the same level, then it is not. So usually what we recommend is create the VPCs at the master org. So whatever business group we will create in the as a part of that tree structure, everyone can access that same VPC. So this is like usually what I've seen. But some customers want like complete isolation. Some want their own VPC, their own dedicated load balancer. In those cases, that VPC will not be shared with other business groups.
Okay. Yeah. The next one is interesting. It's like on runtime manager, you can download an application, right? Whatever is deployed, you can download that jar. So Rakesh is asking, is there a way to make deployed code not accessible by other members of the business group? And he don't want to like an he don't want to completely disconnect user from runtime manager. So other parts of the runtime manager should still be accessible, but only when you go on the application, there is a way to click on the jar and download that code. Is there any permission that you know which can stop person from downloading the code?
I don't think so. So right now, if they have the permission in CloudUp, they can download the jar. But if it is on-prem, I don't think they can download anything.
Uh,
On-prem, it will be copied in apps.
yeah, it will be deployed in there. But yeah, I don't.
But
There are some permissions that I have seen, like a download applications when you go on Access Manager and try to give an individual permission. But I don't know what it controls. Like if you go to
yeah,
users basically and just select any user, um, there is a specific permission, like go to runtime manager, select any environment, and if you click
download
on the
applications.
yeah,
Okay, yeah,
that one
there it is.
I don't know if it would be something like don't give a runtime specific role to a user, but assign individual permissions and leave out the download applications. And
Hmm.
maybe then you may not be able to, I can see
I think it's
if you're org admin, you will anyways for this specific user. If you're an org admin, I think you can still do it.
yeah.
But if you're not an
I'm
org
a org.
admin,
Yeah, it still lets me because I'm an org admin.
yeah,
That's why.
so it overrides
Yeah.
everything, right?
Hmm.
Okay, so maybe
But
that
yeah,
could be a way.
try that permission. Whoever asked the question, I
Yeah,
think it's a good way to.
Rakesh, try that one if it works. If not, just reach out to support and ask for an enhancement. Yeah. So where was I? Is there a way deployed this is done besides not giving the access? Wonderful to know that platform started supporting multiple IDP for client manager. This is not a question. Sorry, I'm just scanning through it. Uh, our suggestion to create new. What is the reason behind environment types like production, sandbox, and design?
So it's usually you want to isolate the production environments, the permissions against it. You don't want the developers to have access to the APIs that are deployed to production. So just to create an isolation and even production environments usually have different configurations. They have usually high availability and different setups that are done, and to keep the isolation and also the way MuleSoft support works is you get like a different SLA when you're logging production related support request versus non-production. So that's another thing where you would segregate the production environment and non-production.
Also, is it I don't remember if that is how it is, but is there a limit on how many production environment you can have versus how many development environments you can have in your
I think in all it's 200 environments per
okay,
VG.
so
Yeah,
it's not differentiated between those
no.
two. Okay, that's good. Uh, Man, I keep losing the track when I keep scanning through that thing. There are so many discussion happen, and it's how audit logs get created in specific to environment related or application related.
So uh, can you elaborate, Manik?
I think the question is how audit logs gets created. Is it specific to environment or application related? I
Yeah,
think the question.
it can be with environment. So there is a way to segregate environment related activities. Then you can also select what objects or like what APIs have been changed. And you can also have the way to select by which user it has been done.
Yeah. And if I'm not wrong, this whole audit thing is it's auditing when you are interacting with the platform. It not
Right.
necessarily like if you have two APIs deployed in the cloud and they are talking to each other, that thing is not audited. It's
No, that's
what
not part
basically
of the audit.
right. It's basically what you are doing with the platform. If somebody is
Hmm.
adding user, removing user, or deploying an
Deploying app.
application and deploying application, so
Hmm.
that you can track if someone does some changes in your environment.
Yep. And you also, if somebody is requesting access to your API, right? When you have the client ID enforcement and somebody requests access and you want to know who approved that access. So that's another use case where audit logs tells you who approved the request.
Right, because that goes through the platform APIs
Right.
and platform through it, right?
Right.
So yes. So I think is it specific to environment related or application related? It looks like it's both. There
Both.
are
Yeah.
actions at environment level, there are actions at application level, like
Hmm.
deployment and all that. Right.
So
Okay.
all these are the actions that are available.
Right. So one last follow-up point on this. One user could be member of more than one business group. I
Yes,
assume, is that right?
they
Right.
can be. Yeah, that is right.
Okay.
And they can have different permissions. So one user can be the exchange admin in
Mhm.
one business group, and in another business group, they can be just exchange viewers.
Okay, let's go. What advantages do we have if we have CI/CD as connected apps?
You would not create a service account. So if you have a SSO enabled platform, then usually I've seen customers who create another user just for the CI/CD without having SSO connection. So in that case, you can skip having a service account and you can easily connect your CI/CD with Anypoint platform.
Okay, so Steve says our business group doesn't have external access as an option. Is that only available at the master org level? Is there
Uh,
like something specific needs to
yes.
be done?
No, I think it's probably crowd. Whoever is migrated in crowd two, I think they will see the external access enabled, and it's only available at the master org level. So I'm at the master org. If
Okay,
I move to a separate business group, I don't see that.
okay, that's what's his question. Like, is that only
Yeah,
available at
yeah,
master org
it's
level?
only
So
at master org.
yes, okay, that's good. Uh, Please provide link to the official MuleSoft REST API documentation for performing access management tasks.
I think
I
there is a lot of documentation on the help center. So if you
yeah,
go on,
and I
uh,
think even if you go to the portal dot MuleSoft
yeah,
dot API portal,
exchange.
all are there.
Let's go
Now,
from there.
just a tip:
Mm.
never search anything on Google when you are sharing your screen. You never know what Google will show you. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
that's the one. Uh,
so I think they enabled. So this is our new graph search. So in case anybody has not seen. So the way we are displaying assets now is we have 20 top recommendations that you get
Yeah. And I think
in
if
the
you
asset.
search for access management API, you
Yeah.
can see
Yeah,
those
it's available
API.
on the exchange. If somebody is having issues, just email to Manik or me and we
Yeah.
can point it to you.
Yeah. Okay. This question, what is a vCore? That's a
So,
base question.
yeah.
And
So
what is the average
vCore,
cost of a vCore? I would guess that goes to support, but yeah, go ahead.
yeah. So vCore is the way resources are allocated. Suppose so vCore is associated with cloud hub deployment. So every cloud hub application that you're deploying is either deployed on a fractional vCore, point 0.1, or one vCore. So you have different combinations that you can use. And vCore also decides the computing power of your runtime and the memory that is allocated. So each application that is deployed on Cloud Hub is either like a point vCore, point 0.1 vCore, point 0.2 vCore, or one vCore. So depending on the fraction or the key vCore capacity, you get different processing power.
Yeah, and I believe there is somewhere in the Cloud Hub documentation,
Hmm.
it has details about what vCore has, how much capacity and memory
Right.
and all that. So if I find that link, I will put it there. And I think I just found the link. I'm just gonna drop that link
Sure.
on
No
there.
worries.
vCores for Cloud Hub. Okay, I just put the link on the chat. I think, and then I lost it again. Question we have okay, regarding IDP, regarding new IDP feature in access management. Is it like if we select OpenID, ping federate, only those two IDPs will be available for applying policy in API manager?
No, like whoever suppose those protocols, they can use Okta, whichever IDP you have, right? As long as they are supported by OpenID and SAML.
Okay, so those are just like a
Yeah,
protocol, not the
yeah,
providers. So you
yeah.
can choose any providers which implements those standards in there. What is the difference between creating business group under master org and creating sub business group another under another org?
The difference is if you're creating a business group in master org, then you can get resources that are available from the master org. If you're creating a sub business group, like this A team here is a sub business group, the resources it can get is dependent on the parent business group. If this business group just has zero point 0.6 scores allocated, then my sub business group can only get out of zero point 0.6 scores. So you can see the max amount of vCores I can add to a child business group is zero point 0.6 and I allocated zero point 0.2.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Probably I never created the sub sub to sub org and never saw.
And again, the same level of isolation, the roles and permissions still don't get copied.
Okay. To move the assets between business groups, could you export the application and then import to the new group?
Yeah, that would be a manual work, right? Yeah, that's possible.
Yeah, but again, I think if you are using an application properties, those won't be part of the application when you download,
Right.
right? So
Exactly.
if your application is like a fully contained, everything is within the jar file that
Hmm.
you deployed could work. Like you can get that, download that jar
Yeah.
and deploy it there. But if you are using like an application property, something that sits outside of your jar,
In your runtime manager.
yeah,
Yeah.
runtime
Right.
manager and all that, that won't get copied over, even the policies in there. So
Yeah, you'll have to do all the steps that you did initially to deploy that application
yeah,
in the
ye-
original business group.
right. Question: can you provide a real world example on business groups in org and how the environments were created for these?
Yep.
And
So I'll give you a couple of examples, right? So this is an example of one business group that I've seen with one of my customers. So they had an application development team which had APIs that were being developed for the business logic, and then they had a software development team that, which was just creating proxies. So this team were like completely like had like isolated structure. They wanted to use MuleSoft but for different purposes. So they also wanted a way to create isolation of resources. So they bought some course just for their own team, and they were able to achieve it in the same master org by just creating another business group. If we did not have this feature and they wanted to track all the resources, they would have to create a new Anypoint org. But business group allows that capability and isolation of resources. And another example is from one of my customers. They had that's an insurance company. So they created business group per LOB. So one business group was for claims department, one was for policy department, and one was for billing center. So three different business groups there.
I think one more example could be if you are charging your subdivisions for the cost, that could also help you there, like in the bigger
Yeah,
organizations when you
right.
sometimes
Creating a
charge.
charge log
Yeah,
model. Yeah,
like you charge for the resources to your specific LOB, then you can easily know how
yeah.
much resources they are using and you can charge accordingly, right? Yeah, that's good. um, if an user left organization and we remove his access, what will happen to the assets created by him in Exchange or API Manager?
So if the user was the API owner, the org admin or the business group owner will have the ability to change the API owners. If the person is the business group owner, then org admin has the capability to change the business group owner. If someone was org admin and he left, then we usually have a process where you need to contact support and then get those permissions changed to a new user.
Okay, so in none of those situations, you actually lose the assets
Control,
that are
yeah,
created. Assets will always stay there. It just you have
right,
to switch the ownership. Assets will always be there,
right.
right? Okay. Can we connect Mule access management with Oracle IDM?
Probably, I don't know examples for that, but I'm assuming you can if it's like a standard IDP that's supported. But Manik, if you know,
I don't. I never seen Oracle
yeah.
IDM, so uh, no, I don't know. Probably we'll need some exploration and check.
We have another session just for external identity providers at the end of this month.
Oh yeah.
My colleague Himaja is gonna give that session, so feel free to ask the same question in
So
that session as well.
it,
Yeah,
it will be a last Wednesday of this month. So every Wednesday we have a session, right? So last Wednesday we have Anypoint access
right.
identity management session.
Mhm.
So maybe there we can explore this question. Okay, can we use MuleSoft with React also? That's the only question. I don't have
But
much context, like in which context or what type of usage is
yeah,
expected. Shubham, I mean, in general, if do you want me to try that, Sandeep?
yeah. Go ahead. I
I
mean,
mean, if I guess that you are expecting to consume those APIs or
yeah,
anything from React, it is possible. It would be no different than consuming any APIs from your React app, right?
yeah.
So I'm just guessing that's the question was. If not, feel free to add another question at the end, but we'll get. Uh, Rahul, we have Cloud Hub and RTF both for our organization. I'm able to
Mhm.
successfully create an application in the RTF server using
Okay.
Runtime Manager console. I have an Exchange contributor role assigned. However, the
Mhm.
same application I am not able to delete. Also, not able to upload jar to the same application. Am I missing any roles?
So the way when you delete an application, if you have deleted it, it's probably something related to the permissions, right? There is separate permissions to manage Fabric. Uh, Let me see if I can show you. manage runtime fabric, probably you need to check if this role is assigned to you in the different business group. And also, every time you deploy API in runtime fabric, an exchange asset is created. If just check if that asset is still existing, or you're trying to upload a new jar in the runtime, if that's conflicting with that. So I've seen some issues there.
There was one more message at the after that which I missed. Like he said, in Cloud Hub, he can create, deploy, or update applications without any problem. So probably some permission is missing, like you said.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Sri said yes, you can restrict the download applications in Runtime Manager. So probably maybe the one that we were talking earlier is the role for it.
Mhm.
Does the child business group extend all features of parent business groups? You said.
No, the roles, I think you'll need to create them again. Features, mm, yeah, I don't think so.
Okay. So every time you create it, you will have to manually give the
Yeah.
missions and roles to it. Okay. Is it possible to give a business group access to a different business group's public exchange so that we don't have to move the assets manually?
There is no such thing as a public exchange for a business group. What you'll need to do is publish it on the public portal if you want to make the asset discoverable, and it will be accessible for the entire org, even for the external users who have access to your external portal. So that way, that would be a place where you can share it. Another way is like giving the exchange viewers permission to a user in another business group.
Okay. Yes, there is a setting that is there a way to find is there a way to find who deployed application in Runtime Manager?
Yep, I think
That's that.
audit logs. Yeah,
Yeah, and that is the example of application level auditing probably,
yeah.
like who deployed in there. Okay. How can we create a business group admin without assigning org admin role to the business group admin?
I think there is a permission. It is, uh, basically, the business group admin has to be the org admin. I mean, that's the way it works.
Yeah.
If you go in here, so you have to select the owner, which acts like a org admin for that business group.
Mhm.
So there's no like similar permission.
Okay. Is there a way to share assets across business groups like we can do across organization? I think we answered that earlier.
Yeah. I think we covered that. Uh, only way is like you have to give that users permission. But
Mhm.
this is all going to be simplified once we introduce the new feature called teams. So all you can decide. So in a business group, you can decide which team has access to your assets, and then developers can have access like write only access, and some of the business people can only have view access for that assets. So I think in this year sometime we are going to release teams that will change the way you have been doing access management for business groups.
Okay. Is there a way? No, sorry, that's wrong. Is audit log contains application start and stop activities? Hmm.
Hmm.
I don't think so. I never seen.
I,
Uh,
I I doubt. I think it just has deploy and those status. I'm
ye-
not seeing start stop.
yeah, I
Yeah,
haven't.
there is some. Yeah, I think there is, right. Let me see.
I am just trying to see if I can see any in. I don't know. At, oh, there is something at the action level. So probably yes, you may have. So if you click on the
Yeah,
actions
yeah,
and
there
it
is
start
start and
stop.
stop.
So it's maybe it applies to Cloud Hub applications, maybe. I never
Yeah,
noticed that.
I
So
think it will show up for on-prem too. It's just because the runtime manager agent captures all this information, so it should be available for on-prem and cloud app.
okay, okay, that's it. That's good. So now understanding, if suppose three persons are there and we want to connect client app or external environment, this is done by connecting that client app or external environment to the particular organization. Is that right?
Oh, sorry, I did not get that. Can you repeat?
And I was myself trying to. Okay, it says if suppose I have like three persons
Mhm.
and we want to connect client app or external environment, then this is done by connecting that client app or external environment to that particular organization. Is that right? I'm
Yeah,
trying.
I mean, is that like a question related to
I
connected
think,
app?
yeah, I guess so. It's connected app, or it doesn't say connected app.
Yeah, I mean, you can do it by connected apps. You can authorize an application to use Anypoint platform user credentials.
Mhm.
So you can log in using your Anypoint SSO credentials.
Okay. What is the cost of 1 week, or is it one time payable, or it has to be renewable for every year?
So I don't think we can discuss that, or I'm
Yeah.
the right person for that kind of discussion. It's usually our account team. If you're a customer, just reach out to your customer success manager or account executive, and they can give you more details on the cost.
Yep, that's true. How many business groups created under one master
So the
organization?
limit is 100. You can have up to 100 business groups in one master org.
Does that include, like, if I have sub orgs?
Yes, yes,
So in total, under
100.
one
Yeah,
master org, you can have 100 orgs of any type.
right.
That's interesting. Okay. Allocation of more workers instead of increasing the V course is a good practice to manage a load balance.
Yeah, I usually recommend scaling out. So if you're deploying on Cloud Hub, deploying on multiple workers means that you are also giving high availability, and you also like scale out the processing power. Again, it depends on the use case, right? Some use case may benefit by scaling up. Some can benefit from scaling out, but I've seen more success scaling out.
Mhm. Okay. If so, I have two workers, and if I assign zero point 0.1 vCore to both, then the total consumption is 0.2 vCores or zero point 0.1,
Point two, like if
right?
it's two
It's the
workers, right?
consolidation of all. Yes. If I maintain different runtime versions on different business groups, in case I need to update, the runtime version for all applications, is it possible to do it in bulk for each
Uh,
business group?
I don't think so. Maybe there is some script available on check it on our help center to upgrade all the runtimes. But I think there is a way in runtime manager to see which all applications have updates available. If you see there is a tab,
Yeah.
so if you want to update runtime, you can just click whichever have new updates available. So I'm pretty sure if this is the section that is allowed, you can also get this list of applications to REST API and then just select to upgrade all those runtimes in bulk.
Yes, I mean, you can automate it with the script,
Yeah,
script or the APIs in there.
yeah.
Why don't I see client providers and external users, even though I have API manager subscription and migrated to crowd release?
It's probably because you're not in the master org. You have a business group in which you have that permission. So if you're in master org, it should be enabled. If it's not, I would say like create a support ticket because
Okay,
if you have API manager, it should show up for you.
okay. I think we are 4 minutes over, so let's last two questions or three maybe. Is there a way to identify, calculate how much vCores required by one application?
Yes, so MuleSoft account team can help you. So we have some templates. If you put the number, the TPS that the application needs and the payload size, it calculates the number of cores that will be required. So if you have a MuleSoft customer success team in touch with you, just reach out to them and they can help you with that.
Yeah, the next three lines are very, two lines are very nice. So can you explain more about IDP? And yeah, that's the one first.
So I think we'll take the IDP questions when we have that session at
Next,
the month end. Yeah.
yeah.
So we can have more insights into that. We have an entire hour dedicated for IDP.
Yes. So last question, are you planning for a basic session in the future around this? I didn't know around this. Is there anything that you would consider
So
still missing out or as a basic if we have to redo
so we
this?
have a lot of free training, right? Anypoint 101 sessions that are available on our training site,
Mhm.
which will explain you what the platform is, what is Anypoint Exchange, and different features. I would like strongly suggest to take that self-paced training. Many of the developers I know they have taken that and it has helped them. But I mean, Manik, it's the question I guess is on you. If you have anything planned, which is more of like basic.
Yeah, I mean, we will see. We have a list of topics that we would like to cover, so we can have this session out there and see how the feedback or the feedbacks comes back, and if people still have more questions or something that is not that did not get answered here, we can have a follow. We can plan for the follow-up session. But
Yeah,
I mean, a lot of things got covered in your this session. Maybe two last questions, and they will be last because I don't see any questions after that. Can we
sure.
create a common repository at org level so that all business groups can access the assets? Probably no.
Uh, Repository as in,
I'm
I mean,
not
what kind
sure.
of repo?
Can we create common repository? I don't know. Maybe exchange repository.
Like Exchange, yeah,
Yeah.
you can have some assets which are common for the master org. So all the assets that are at the top level will be shown here, and then assets just related to your business group, suppose application. So that will be shown in this. I don't have any right now, but it will should be shown in this way.
So while being in this suborg, you can still access the master org's
Yeah,
assets, right?
yeah.
Okay. So and the last one would be again the same question. I think we tackled this one, but what we can achieve by linking CI/CD to connected apps?
I think we covered that.
Yeah.
It's just you don't need a service account. It's easier to just authorize the platform to do deployments.
Okay. It's basically then just to I don't know. I mean, okay, maybe. I think that's it. We are 8 minutes over. So thank you very much, Sandeep. It was an
Thank you, everyone.
amazing session. I mean, the content was awesome, and we had so many questions and answered almost most of them. So thank
Yeah,
you very much. And thank you everyone for joining us today here. It was a great talk. So stay tuned for the next Wednesday. Also, we have two more or three more probably coming up in this month. So stay tuned, and you may receive an email for feedback about the session, the content, and whatever we are doing. If you have any thoughts, ideas, feedback, feel free to send that back to us, and we will be happy to know all that. Thank you very much.
thank
Thanks,
you,
Sandeep.
everyone. Have a good day. Bye.
Have a good day. Stay safe. Bye.